Welcome to Sally Speaks Mindset Podcast. I'm your host, Sally Arkell Bowles, your high performance success and mindset mentor. I firmly believe that you deserve to create the wealth, wellness, and wisdom you've always desired. This podcast is your go-to source for inspiration, education, and motivation to guide you on your path to success. Each episode features exceptional guests who are leaders in their respective fields, sharing their incredible stories and journeys to empower and uplift you. Well, today on Sally Speaks Mindset, I am so excited to welcome Dionne Smith, all the way from the UK. And she is an award-winning brand consultant and brand coach and a speaker. And she supports entrepreneurs and professionals with their personal brand management, attracting media and speaking opportunities, which is huge if you're an entrepreneur, and that business brand marketing and lead generation and growth. Because, I work with a lot of consultants as well and coaches. And what I find is that there's a lot of struggles within this branding and not understanding the intricacies of it. So it's going to be a really great conversation today. So I'm going to start, Dionne. First of all, why did you decide to start this business?
That's a really great question. I got made redundant just before I started my business. I'd always wanted to start a business, but never had really had the confidence to do it. And having children kind of helped to reinforce that need, that goal to start my own business and having a bit more freedom to spend time with my children and, just do my own thing really. So I started off as a financial marketing consultant, and then quickly transitioned into business branding because I had other clients coming from other industries who wanted me to help them. So I transitioned into that. But then I quickly realized that confidence was still an issue, and learning how to sell myself in the new online digital marketing business world, which was completely different to what I'd learned when I was working in corporate. So it kind of highlighted for me that I needed to understand how to build my own confidence, how to feel good about who I was. And then I transitioned into supporting other entrepreneurs and professionals with developing their personal brand and them feeling confident and using their story to showcase their knowledge, skills, and experience.
Nice. So I heard a couple of things in there. The first thing I heard was that, I was made redundant, which happens a lot today. And even more so, I think, in the current economy that we have, because I've run into a lot of different people where, they were perfectly doing well in their business and all of a sudden they're gone, not in their business, but in work, at the workplace. And so tell me a little bit about how that felt when that happened for you. Like what were you going through when that happened?
Well, it was the second time that happened to me. The first time I was working for an amazing company, and you may know them because they're actually in the US and they're in Canada, called Edward Jones.
Yes.
Yeah. And absolutely brilliant company. Everyone loved working there, great culture. But they sold out. So that was the first redundancy, and I was pregnant at the time, which didn't necessarily help. So I went to another corporate role, and then I got made redundant again for the second time. But adversely, I actually didn't like working there. The culture was completely different. It was horrible, very toxic. So I was quite glad to kind of, it felt like a blessing in disguise for me to come to be made redundant and have that push to start my own business. But, when you go through that process of redundancy, it kind of makes you feel like a little bit, it questions your worth. It questions whether or not you feel, good enough to do the role. Why didn't they give you another job? Why, why me, kind of thing. So it does question your worth a lot. And that kind of affected my confidence, even though I was kind of ready to start my own business at the second time round that I got made redundant. But it still questions your confidence. It questions you know, whether or not people are going to see you differently because
Mm-hmm.
you've been made redundant.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a challenging time for me, definitely.
Yeah, I can completely relate because I've had that same thing happen to myself, but also to some of my colleagues where they became redundant as well. And I felt at one point that I wasn't being valued for who I was and what they were offering me from an, higher level position to a very junior position just to find a spot for me because of circumstances that were going on in the organization. I thought they're not valuing me, so I need to value me and I need to make a decision. And so then I made a decision to leave the corporation. And so I felt more in control at that point, but I absolutely understand the feelings because I was in a feeling knowing that this redundancy could happen for me or that they weren't valuing my worth. And it really was a psychological game for myself, that struggle of trying to say, well, what's next? Why are they not treating me this way? And so understanding that when I once took it back in control for myself making the decision, it was completely different on what happened. And I also went into my own business at that time. So we have a lot of similarities there. So now I heard I got to be a mom and I got to have a business. And I got to be there more present for my children. So tell me a little bit about that, because there's a lot of mamas out there that are looking for something like that as well. So how was that journey for you?
Interesting. Very interesting. My son was about to start school, which was helpful because then that gave me some more time. The first time I actually got made redundant, I did try to start my own business, but it just didn't work because he was like literally tiny at that time and he needed a lot of help. And, you know, you can't manage two babies unless you have to. A business baby and a real baby at the same time. It's very difficult to do that unless you've got really good support. And so when I then went to start my business when he was a bit older, it was a lot easier for me because he was starting school. So I had that time during the day. I could still do the drop off and the pick up, which was helpful as well. But again, just trying to manage the emotions of raising a family, looking after the home, being a good partner, it all kind of, and trying to, bring new clients on board and manage that process, build your reputation, your credibility, talk to people, get a testimonial, all that kind of stuff. It was a lot to deal with. And luckily I had some really good clients when I started my business. So that really helped a lot. But it was a melting pot of, what do I do in terms of making sure that my child is fine, my home is running the way it needs to be, and plus building this business. It was challenging, but I didn't regret making that decision at the same time.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people out there that think, oh, it's going to be much easier to have my own business and be at home with everything. But, when we start working from home, which I do as well, there's the laundry, there's the dishes, there's the making the meals in advance and all of those types of things. And it's like, it's a big distraction. When you're in the workplace, you don't have any of that. I used to shut it off and know, okay, this is what I needed to do before work. This is what I needed to do after work. And then anything in between was just focused on my work. So now how did you actually get the time in there? What did you do to keep yourself focused on the job that you were needing to do for your business so that you could get the results?
My mindset around it was, I don't work, I don't get paid.
There we go.
Quite simple.
Yeah.
So as much as I hear a lot of people say, I don't know how you work from home, I couldn't do it. Like you said, you get distracted by washing, shopping, cooking, cleaning, all that kind of stuff. But my mindset has always been, if I don't do this work, if I don't do what I need to do for my clients, I'm not going to get paid. So I need to put the time in and do what I need to do and make sure I structured my day so that, I had that time in the morning to deal with my son, get him to school, come back home, plan out what I needed to do, work on that during those core hours and be back into mum and house mode, you know, around about 3:30 in the afternoon. And even then I could still do some bits and pieces. The struggle that I did have was I focused so much on my client work, I forgot that I was actually supposed to prospect as well and get new ones.
Yes.
And so when you're finished a project, as I was doing a lot of in those times, it was kind of like, okay, I finished this project. This client is now gone. I need another one to replace it. But I hadn't really focused on that outreach, that prospecting, and actually bringing leads into my business. And again, that's where the whole confidence in myself came in, because it's easy to start a business when you're working with people who already know you. But when you're reaching out to people who don't know you, that's a whole different kettle of fish altogether.
Yeah,
so,
it is.
Yeah.
So what did you do to overcome that? Because that's a big question out there for people. And I think it's one of the biggest struggles is that, you know, we have these beautiful business ideas, but we're not actually finding the people or attracting the people. And that's where branding comes in as well. So just tell me a little bit about what you did to attract people once you realized, oh my gosh, I don't have anybody to market to right now. I've got nobody in my funnel. What was your mindset around that, and how did you overcome that?
I think that there was a couple of things that I did, and one of them was to look at what it was I was offering, and think about, you know, what is it that my clients need from me that I can offer. So, you know, tapping into, you know, my zone of genius, what I was good at doing, what I enjoyed doing, as well as thinking, right, okay, how can I package this in a way that allows me to bring on clients who will stay with me. So retain them, not just offering them a service that's a one-off kind of, I'll work with you on this project and then you can go. I wanted to maintain a recurring income. So I didn't have to think about too often having to bring new clients on board. So I repackaged what I did. Again, I was looking at, you know, what is it about me that people are going to buy into? What's my story? How do I connect with them on that more emotional, personal level so that they kind of understand where I'm coming from and want to work with me? So it's then, again, looking at my story, how do I tie that into the message that I'm sending out to the people that I want to work with, understanding those people, because that's a big issue as well. People don't really understand the people that they're trying to reach out to, you know, and they make a very broad, oh, I work with anyone.
Yes.
Okay, but what does that really mean? Who do you really want to work with? So kind of understanding, you know, who my clients were, what their pain points were, and how I could solve them with what I could do, what I could offer, and packaging that so it's an ongoing process of me retaining revenue rather than, you know, one-off projects here, there, and everywhere. So I do one-off projects still, but I have that retainer service as well.
Oh, good. So now there's probably a lot of people out there, like I heard you say, and I know this is something that a lot of people do too. It's like, oh yeah, I can serve everybody. And that never gets anybody or very rarely gets you your ideal client. So tell me a little bit about what is personal branding so people understand that.
So personal branding is, as I said, understanding how to use your knowledge, skills, and experience, feel confident in the stories that you have, or the experiences that you've been through, which create the stories of your life, and how to translate that into a message that helps you to connect with and attract your ideal target audience. It's about building your reputation, building your credibility. It's about being visible. It's about being confident of being a leader in your business, in, you know, your profession, your industry, however you want to look at it. And, you know, being able to stand up and say, this is me authentically, and not feeling like you have to be like someone else, because you don't. But we are in a very visible world now. And, you know, anybody can have a TV program on YouTube. Anybody can, you know, create content that that goes global.
Yeah.
So being able to have the confidence in yourself to stand up and say, this is me, this is what I do, this is how I help, this is why I understand what you're going through, takes understanding your journey and feeling happy with what you've been through, good and bad, and being able to present that to your audience confidently. And that's what most people struggle with, is that confidence and the clarity around personal branding, and just being able to know that they're happy to share who they are, and be vulnerable without feeling like I can't do this.
Yes. Yeah, and I think that's, I've watched a lot of people. I spend a lot of time on LinkedIn, but I've also been on other platforms in the past. But I sort of switched over last year, and what I've seen and what I've experienced myself too is that fear of, oh, what if I make my market too small? What if it's too granular? What if I lose out on this side of the business? What if I lose out, because I'm not marketing to businesses, but I'm marketing to, individuals. And then I've started seeing people going as granular as, working with highly sensitive people. And I'm like, wow, like that to me is just a tiny piece of, I would think, a tiny piece of the market, but it attracts so many people because nobody's speaking to them.
Exactly.
Right. And so I think that for me, that's been a big aha, is that we can get as granular as we need to be to create our personal brand. And if it's something that you really relate to and you've been through, it's really going to help you to have that more focus and more credibility, like you're saying, to be able to attract the right type of people and the people that you really want to work with. And I think at the beginning, we come out in our businesses and sometimes we're just, well, I don't even know who that person would be because I really haven't figured it out yet. So I'm just going to leave it out there to everybody. And as we develop our business, it becomes tighter and tighter and tighter. And I think that's where someone that is a specialist like yourself really comes into play, to really ask us the right questions. To find out who is your target market, who is it that you love working with, who is it that you can support, what's your story? Like you came out at the beginning and said, when I started telling my story, I attracted the right clients. And I think that is a key element of the service that you offer to help people really hone in. And, I know as a result of that, their income's going to increase. Their reach is going to increase because they're now speaking to that audience. So quick question for you. How do you speak to that ideal audience? Like, what are the tricks in that? Because there's so many people that may have figured it out, but not know how to speak to that audience.
So when it comes to messaging, there are 7 pillars which I speak to clients about. So the first one is understanding what their pain points are. You have to identify that. What is it they're struggling with? If you think about any content that you've looked into, a lot of the time it's been addressing that pain point right up front. And whether you use it in the headline of your content, whether you use it in the introduction of a video, however you use it, that should be the first thing that you say to people. This is what you're struggling with. And then you kind of link in what your story is. So you empathize with them by saying, I've been through this before. I understand how you feel. This is what happened to me. And then it's about, how did you find a solution? What did you do? What were the steps that you took? Then what's the result of that? What result did you get from having that solution or working through that solution? And then you talk about I've forgotten what the 5th one is now. That you obviously use testimonials as well. Oh, sorry. The 5th one is then you talk about introduce your services and your products. So this is what I do. This is how I work with people. Then you have your testimonials. And then the thing that I know people forget about every single time is the call to action. What do you want people to do when they've listen to all this amazing information that you've just given them.
Mm-hmm.
What's the next step? How do they get in contact with you?
Mm-hmm.
And make it powerful, make it timely, make it exclusive if you need to, because, you know, generally people will procrastinate.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want them to take action quickly, then make it something that's time limited. Once you get them into your world and they experience what you offer, how you work with people, then you've got that opportunity to keep them on board.
Yes.
But it's just kind of getting them in as a taster first to access information, to access your knowledge, to access, you know, what it is you have to offer, and then you can build on it from there.
Nice. So I love the system that you're talking about, because it's step by step to allow you to understand, here's those steps that you need to take to have success in actually reaching your audience. So now you've established your brand, you know who your ideal client is, this is how you're going to share your story, and this is how you're going to get them to take that action, to get into your world, whether it's, you know, looking at a newsletter, or whether it's, you know, get on a call with me, whatever it might be. There's a ton of different calls to action we can make, but always have a call to action on every one of your communications or posts. Yes,
pretty much. I don't have them on all of them. I think sometimes if you're selling too much, people switch off. So if it is a product or service that you're promoting, then fine. If you're just giving some value content, then just give some value content and just leave it at that. If you're just wanting to say to somebody, you know what, this is what you can do if you want to resolve this issue, you know, I hope it works for you.
Yes.
And leave it at that. So don't always sell.
Yeah.
I think our mutual friend Jennifer says it should be 20%, 80%. So 80% value, 20% selling. It depends on your business, I think, and where you are with it. So that can kind of fluctuate between. But there should always be value content there. So there should always be something that you're just giving away, because it helps people to see the type of person that you are, and also to see that you have that knowledge and that experience that you're sharing with them.
Yes, beautiful. And I think that's, you know, I see a lot of people putting up a lot of information, and you know, I've had people that I've run into that have been posting consistently for 3 years, and they've got a huge network, but they're not monetizing.
Really?
So the call to actions are not even there, right? So I think, you know, there's a fine line to draw between, are you in business or are you just there for social? And so I think that's, you know, for a lot of aspiring entrepreneurs, it's what's your real purpose on doing this? Is it, like you said at the beginning, I knew I needed to generate income, so I had to find a way.
Yeah.
Right. And so what is that burning desire you have, and what is that reason why you want to do what you do? But it's great to add lots of content, but if it's not really attracting people to want to have a further connection with you, or you're wanting to monetize, then you'll just be offering that value. So I think it's important to make sure people understand that a call to action is not a bad thing.
No.
People like to be able to connect with people. People like to be able to have a conversation. People want to find out if there's another trick to something that they're trying to solve, right? And those are the different types of call to actions that we can use. So I'm really glad that you shared that in a way that's really impactful for people to understand. So thank you.
That's okay. I mean, I heard someone say that if you've got a business and you're not selling, it's just a hobby.
Yes.
So bear that in mind when you're thinking about, oh, I don't want to sell. I feel a bit funny selling. You know, you buy products and services all the time.
Yes.
Because you have a need for them. So people have a need for your product and service. And I've got a really interesting, I'll go into it if you want me to, but I've got a really interesting way of thinking about co-creation. And it's basically that, you know, 90% of the time, you know, people talk in the law of attraction, they talk about co-creating with God or co-creating with the universe, or a higher power, or whatever you want to call it. And how I see it is that we're actually co-creating with each other. To give you an example, and I'm doing a video on this soon, but to give you an example, if I have a dream home in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a builder. I'm not an architect. I cannot build this home. I know what it looks like, but I don't know how to do the drawings and all that kind of stuff. So I'm vibrationally, energetically sending out that message to somebody to help me to create this dream home that I have in my head. And then that person is essentially receiving that energetic vibration to then go ahead and create it, right? Because I can't do it. They're going to get the builders in, they're going to do what they need to do to build this house, because I can't do that. Yeah. So essentially, when you think about what you do, you're doing what you do, you're following that path because somebody else has that need. So they're energetically saying to you, I need this, this is what I need help with. And that person is for you. They don't know it yet. You don't know it yet. But that energy is going to connect at some point. That vibration is going to connect with you at some point, and that's going to become your client. They're not going to become someone else's client. They're going to become yours because they're meant to be for you. Yes. So when I think about co-creation and putting that message out into the world, there is somebody out there that needs your service. There are several people out there that need your service. But unless you step into it energetically and embrace it, you're going to find it difficult to attract those people into your world so that you can actually make those sales. Yeah.
That's a big practice of mine. Absolutely. Because I've studied under a number of people over the last 4 or 5 years, and it's all about that law of attraction. And it's about the energy that you're showing up with. And I think that a lot of people too, when they're online, don't realize that there's a lot of lurkers that are watching, but will only step up when you resonate with them and there's an offer that they're interested in. So there's a lot of people just watching. They're not necessarily engaging. And I believe that the stat is about 5% are actually engaging on a daily basis. And so think about all those other people. If you look at, your stats and you can see your impressions or, who's even just popped into it, you'll see hundreds of people and sometimes thousands, and yet only 4 or 5 comments. So we have to understand that people are window shopping. Right? They're window shopping for that person that's going to resonate with them. And for me, that's where I don't know what my energy is going to be to attract that specific person, but I know if I show up with the right energy of just serving and offering that value, if I didn't put a call to action, there's nothing for them to respond to.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think that that's a really great, I love that you spoke about that, because that's one of my favorite things. And I've known when I'm not in a great energy in a particular time, and I just post for the sake of posting, it falls flat. And when I actually go in with the right energy, boom, it takes off, and people just automatically show up. So for me, that's a huge element. So thank you for sharing that. I love that we're aligned that way.
That's okay. That's okay.
So now, what are the top 3 tips that you would give someone looking to develop their personal brand profile?
Again, so think about your story. How can you use that to create a message that is unique and authentic, that you're happy to speak about, and that is going to help people who have been through a similar situation to you. And again, like I said, it will help you to identify who your audience truly are.
Yes.
So story, definitely. Again, message. And then look at the different, in terms of building your profile and that visibility, you do need to be consistent. So you have a strategy in place of saying, right, okay, I'm going to focus on this topic for this month, or for the next couple of months, I'm going to talk about this, and this. I'm going to put some posts out on LinkedIn, on Instagram, wherever you've got your socials. And you're going to have a product or service in there that you want to promote.
Yes.
Awesome. So those are 3 things that I would say you need to really focus on if you want to build your profile. Also, a bonus one is to do collaboration. So like I'm doing this podcast with you, or if you've got an event to do, or If you want to join a networking group and you've got an opportunity to speak,
Mm-hmm.
collaborate as much as possible as well, because that opens you up to a wider audience. So that's all about the whole visibility piece as
Yes.
well. So those are the three things I think you need to focus on: getting clear on your story and your message, and then how do you get those out there to your audience?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I love that. This has been a really inspiring conversation, and I think it's going to really resonate with so many people out there that, even if they're seasoned in their branding, there's going to be different things that they can tweak to make sure that they're even finer tuned as they're going forward. But for those people that are probably within their first, year to 2 years, a lot of the people that I've seen, because of the climate that we've been in the last 4 or 5 years, we had a climate where everybody went online for a couple of years because of a global incident. And so when we think about that, it was easy to connect with people. It was easy to get attention from people because there was no distraction for them outside of the home. And so it was easy to connect. And then afterwards, it became a little bit more difficult because now a lot of people navigated onto the platforms that are out there, but then they also had a lot more competition happening and harder to find the clients because now they have all access to everything, to be live in different events and to be able to find somebody locally and in person. And so I think I've seen a lot of people struggling this last year with that heavier transition, getting back to, oh, business isn't just going to flow in as easily as it used to. So what do I need to do to fine tune my branding, fine tune my message, fine tune how I'm going to get out there and get that visibility and attract those ideal clients? So I think, if anybody is interested, please reach out to Dionne. So how can people reach you and what's the best way for them to connect?
So I have my business brand website and I have a personal brand website.
Yep.
So if you want to connect with me in terms of supporting you with building your business brand, it's dpsbrandconsultancy.co.uk. And if you want to really focus on your personal brand, how do you, improve your profile, become more visible, become more confident, and have that clarity, it's dionnesmithcoaching.com.
Okay. And we'll put those in the show notes. And I saw that you had a personal branding visibility group.
Yes, so I've got a group on LinkedIn called Brand Me.
Okay.
And in that group I post support with how to become more visible, so you get tips in there. I also offer my own podcast and article series called Spotlight. So if you join the group, you can get the opportunity to have your own exclusive podcast and article written for you, which you can share obviously with your audience, because it's talking about you, it's talking about your brand, it's talking about, what you do, your journey, that kind of thing, which people always resonate with. It's very story based, if you like.
Yes.
So yeah, there are those opportunities as well. So you can join that on LinkedIn.
Awesome. Well, that's just amazing. And I hope everybody that's listening today will definitely connect with Dionne and make sure that you're actually focused on the right elements within your personal branding, because it's one thing to know who your audience is, but if you're not actually connecting and getting the results, like she said, we're either in a hobby or we're making money and in a business. So there is a big distinction there. And I know there's a lot of hobby people out there, but it's just because they're not informed on what they need to do to move their business forward faster. And that personal branding is one of the keys, absolutely one of the keys. And I've witnessed it myself. I've been through that myself. And it really does make a difference on the success that you're going to have going forward. So thank you so much for joining us today, Dionne.
No problem. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Oh, our pleasure. Thank you. Thank you for tuning in to Sally Speaks Mindset podcast. We hope this episode has inspired and empowered you on your quest for success and personal growth. If you're ready to take your success journey to new heights, connect with me, Sally Arkell Bowles, your high performance success and mindset mentor. Whether you're an executive, entrepreneur, or part of a dynamic team, I'm here to help you navigate challenges, supercharge your mindset, and drive exceptional results. Together, we'll embrace a transformative approach, breaking through limitations and opening doors to uncharted territory. No matter your industry or profession, my mission is to empower you to excel. From leadership development and sales excellence to personal empowerment, we'll tailor a journey that aligns with your unique goals. Connect with me and start your transformational journey today. Let's collaborate on unleashing your full potential and creating a future filled with success and growth. Don't forget to follow, like, comment, and share to spread empowerment. You can find more about me and connect with me through the links provided in the show notes. Thank you for being part of the Sally Speaks Mindset Podcast community. Stay empowered, stay motivated, and keep working towards the success you deserve.